ask you something. When you have anxiety for no reason, or you hit that hard 3 p.m. crash, or you snap at somebody you love and you think, where in the world did that come from? Have you ever considered that it might not be originating from your brain? I'm Dr. Katrina Coulter. I'm an infectious disease physician, and for the past several years, I have been studying the microbiome, the ecosystem of trillions of microorganisms that live in your gut. And what I've learned has genuinely changed the way that I think about anxiety, mood, and energy, the gut-brain connection, and why it means that your gut is running your emotional life more than your mind is. Your gut has its own nervous system. It's called the enteric nervous system, and it has roughly 500 million neurons. That's more than the spinal cord. Scientists sometimes call it the second brain, but honestly, it deserves more credit than that. The gut and brain communicate through the 10th cranial nerve called the vagus nerve. This is a long wandering nerve that comes off your brainstem and travels down your abdomen and innervates various important organs in your abdominal cavity, including your intestines. And here's what most people don't realize. About 80 to 90% of the signals that are traveling the vagus nerve are traveling up from the gut, not the other way around. Your gut is continuously sending your brain information about your internal state, and then your brain is responding to it. Here is the statistic that stops most people in their tracks. About 80% of your serotonin, which is considered your mood stabilizing hormone, is produced in the gut. Not in the brain, in the gut, specifically by enterochromaffin cells in your intestinal lining in close communication with your gut bacteria. Serotonin is your primary mood stabilizing neurotransmitter. When it's in balance, you feel emotionally steady, optimistic, and able to handle stress. When it's disrupted, you are anxious, irritable, you have low mood, and sleep problems. Does this sound familiar? Your gut bacteria are directly involved in regulating serotonin production. Specifically, bacterial strains like lactobacillus and bifidobacterium stimulate those enterochromaffin cells that produce the serotonin in the gut. When those bacterial populations are low or out of balance, your serotonin production is affected. And this is not fringe science. This is published, peer-reviewed studies from major academic centers. So what does a gut-driven mood disruption actually look like? I want to give you some specific signs because it's not always obvious. So first is a mood that varies significantly an hour or two after eating. If you notice irritability, brain fog, anxiety, specifically in the hour or two after eating, this is your gut bacteria sending distress signals. And this is particularly noticeable after you eat ultra-processed foods, refined carbohydrates, or alcohol. It can sometimes take a little longer than 1 to 2 hours. It might be several hours later or the following day. I noticed a couple of weeks ago, I made some traditional spaghetti with marinara sauce and meatballs, and I used some store-bought spaghetti noodles, just the usual enriched, refined carbohydrate noodles. The next day I woke up just feeling off, not having any GI distress, but just kind of in a grouchy mood, thinking maybe I didn't sleep well, maybe it had something to do with the acid in the marinara sauce. I made a different dish with those same noodles a week later. This dish had more of a teriyaki peanut butter based sauce, and it's really delicious and I love it. And again, the next day I woke up feeling that same off. This time it had a completely different sauce. So I was able to pinpoint it was the refined carbohydrate processed noodles that I was using, not the sauce that I was using. So next time I make that delicious dish, I'm going to try soba noodles, which are buckwheat. So you really do have to pay attention and notice these patterns. The second thing is that 3 p.m. crash that feels not just physical, but actually emotional. Fatigue and low mood together reflect impaired short-chain fatty acid production from your gut bacteria. Third, anxiety that has no clear source. Vague, free-floating anxiety, especially if it lives in the stomach, is a classic presentation of gut-brain dysregulation. Fourth, digestive symptoms and mood symptoms that travel together. If you notice bloating, cramping, or changes in digestion during stressful periods, or mood shifts when your gut is off, that bidirectional relationship of the vagus nerve is in full effect. Remember, the gut is sending signals of your internal state and your brain is responding. So the good news and the bad news are the same thing. Your microbiome is very responsive, which means it can be disrupted, but it can also be rebuilt. What disrupts it? A diet high in ultra-processed foods and low in fiber. Those two things usually go together. Chronic stress, because that cortisol state changes the composition of the gut microbiome. Antibiotic use, sometimes necessary, but it wipes out the microbiome non-discriminately. And alcohol, which is particularly damaging to the gut lining. And insufficient sleep, because your microbiome operates on a circadian rhythm just like you do. Most of us are dealing with several of these things at the same time. And this is why so many women in midlife feel like something has shifted, but they can't quite put their finger on what it is. Here's what I want to leave you with today. Not overwhelmed, but with a starting point. Add one fiber containing food to a meal today. This is simple. This can be an apple, lentils, a handful of leafy greens, a bowl of cherries, a handful of nuts. Second, eat one fermented food per day, all week this week. This can be plain Greek yogurt, kimchi, kefir, sauerkraut. Fermented foods introduce and support the bacterial strains that are most linked to mood stability. Step 3, notice the connection. Start paying attention to how you feel emotionally in the hours after you eat. Maybe even jot it down in a little note on your smartphone, and pretty soon the patterns will emerge. These aren't dramatic interventions, but your microbiome responds to consistency, not intensity. Small daily inputs compound into real change. Next week, I'm going a level deeper, the Microbiome 101. What it is, what it does, and how it affects every aspect of your life. Subscribe so that you don't miss it. If you have questions or something in today's video resonated, go ahead and drop a comment. I read everything, and if you want to know how to work with me, there is a link in the description, or you can come to katrinacoultermd.com, sign up for my email list, or book a free 15-minute consultation, and we will discuss what I have to offer to help you. I'll see you in the next video.